Marc Marquez doesn't demand anything extra from the Ducati package. He understands what's available and doesn't seek more. Valentino Rossi, dubbed a manipulator, faces accusations of errors involving Marc Marquez. Jorge Lorenzo's ex-crew chief believes Rossi was mistaken in provoking Marquez in 2015. Let's discuss. Watch until the end. Ducati has made it clear that Marc Marquez isn't asking for any upgrades to his GP23 bike, despite the dominance of the 2024 model shown by championship contenders Jorge Martin and Pecco Bagnaia. Marquez has been performing on a year-old machine, but Ducati team manager Davide Tardozzi confirmed he's not pushing for extra support. Marc knows exactly what's in his contract. He understands what he can use and doesn't ask for more, Tardozzi told TNT Sports. He's showing his professionalism by working with the package he has and doing his best on the track. Marquez's GP23 caught fire during the Mandalika race last weekend, knocking him out of the Indonesian MotoGP while in contention for a podium. He now trails championship leader Martin by 78 points as they head into the Japanese MotoGP at Motegi this weekend. Despite the setbacks, Marquez's impressive form earned him a promotion to Ducati's factory team for 2025, where he'll join Bagnaia. Tardozzi is confident about the pairing, saying, "We believe they'll get along well." Gigi, Mauro, myself and the rest of the team are all focused on maintaining the positive atmosphere we've had for years. The dynamic between the two riders, however, could face challenges as the championship heats up. At Mandalika, Marquez gave Bagnaia a ride back to the pits after Bagnaia's bike ran out of fuel, a moment that amused Gigi Dall'Igna. Whether their relationship will stay that friendly under the pressure of competition remains to be seen. For next season we have two smart, fast riders, Tardozzi added. They know that by collaborating they can develop the 2025 bike effectively. In the end, the track will decide who's quicker, but both will be incredibly fast. In a revealing interview, Ramon Forcada, the former crew chief of MotoGP champion Jorge Lorenzo, provided new insights into the infamous feud between Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez during the 2015 season. Forcada, a key figure in Lorenzo's team as they secured 3 world titles, shared his thoughts on the psychological strategies Rossi employed throughout his career, and why in 2015 they backfired against Marquez. Forcada described Rossi as a rider who often relied on more than just his speed on the track. Throughout his illustrious career, Rossi had mastered what Forcada called psychological warfare, a method that involved playing mind games with his rivals to gain an edge. Valentino is a manipulator in the purest sense, Forcada told La Gazzetta dello Sport. He always knew how to get under his opponent's skin and throw them off their game. It wasn't illegal or immoral, it was just part of his toolkit, and for many years it worked brilliantly. This mental strategy often created an intimidating atmosphere around Rossi, who was already one of the most accomplished and celebrated riders in the sport. His stature, combined with his mental tactics, often left his opponents rattled and unsure. However, according to Forcada, 2015 was the year Rossi's strategy faltered. When Rossi targeted Marquez, a young rider with nothing to lose and everything to gain, the situation spiraled out of control. Valentino misjudged Marc, Forcada reflected. Throughout his career, he was able to play these psychological games to his advantage. But in 2015, he misread the situation. Marquez wasn't like the other riders Rossi had faced. He was faster, younger, and had already won world championships of his own. Instead of trying to make him an ally or staying neutral, Rossi turned him into an enemy, which was a big mistake. Marc thrived on the challenge and wasn't intimidated. Valentino pushed, and Marc pushed back even harder. Forcada explained that part of Rossi's miscalculation came from underestimating just how resilient and determined Marquez was. While Rossi had been the master of mind games for much of his career, Marquez was not the type of rider to be easily thrown off balance. Rossi's attempts to undermine Marquez's confidence only served to intensify their rivalry, particularly during the infamous events of the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix. At that time, Rossi was nearing the end of his career and aiming for a historic 10th World Championship, which would have solidified his status as one of the all-time greats, Forcada continued. On the other hand, Marquez was already a multiple-time world champion, but he was still early in his career with everything ahead of him. That dynamic was crucial. Rossi was fighting for legacy, while Marc was simply fighting to win every race possible. It created a situation where the usual tactics didn't work. Forcada also noted that this miscalculation had significant consequences not only for Rossi but for the entire 2015 season. By antagonizing Marquez, Rossi inadvertently set the stage for a rivalry that would overshadow the championship. Their clash became one of the season's defining storylines, ultimately culminating in the controversial incident during the Malaysian GP, where Rossi was accused of causing Marquez to crash. That moment and the subsequent fallout shifted focus away from the racing itself and intensified the tension between the two riders. What makes Forcada's analysis even more relevant today is the fact that Rossi has continued to bring up the events of 2015, despite nearly a decade having passed since the conflict. During a recent appearance on Andrea Migno's Ming Bubble podcast, Rossi reignited discussions about his rivalry with Marquez, once again addressing the incidents that many thought had been left in the past. Forcada expressed surprise at Rossi's decision to revisit the topic, especially given the current landscape of MotoGP. It's strange that Valentino keeps talking about 2015, Forcada remarked. It doesn't seem like it helps anyone, least of all his own riders. Valentino has mentored a new generation of racers through his VR46 Academy, including current top MotoGP competitors like Francesco Bagnaia, who will be Marc's teammate at Ducati next season. By bringing up his old rivalry, he risks creating unnecessary pressure or animosity for his riders, who are already in a highly competitive environment. Forcada speculated that Rossi's comments might reflect lingering emotions from the 2015 season. The wounds from that year may still be open for Valentino, he said. Perhaps in his mind, Marc is still the enemy, and he believes that psychological warfare might still have some effect. But I don't think it benefits anyone at this stage, neither Valentino's legacy nor the riders he's trying to support. In Forcada's view, the 2015 rivalry between Rossi and Marquez marked a key turning point in MotoGP, not just for the riders involved, but for the sport itself. Rossi's psychological tactics, which had been so effective for much of his career, found their limits when applied to a competitor like Marquez. While Rossi had built his reputation as a master strategist, Marquez's resilience and youth presented a new kind of challenge that couldn't be easily overcome by mental games. Forcada's analysis reveals the complexities behind one of MotoGP's most iconic rivalries, showing how even the most successful athletes can misjudge their opponents. The events of 2015 will continue to be debated and discussed for years to come, as they represent not just a clash of personalities but a significant moment in their sport's history. Rossi's failure to neutralize Marquez mentally and Marquez's rise to the challenge ensured that their rivalry would leave an indelible mark on MotoGP. Whether Rossi's recent comments suggest unresolved tensions or simply a desire to reflect on his career, it's clear that the impact of 2015 still lingers. For fans and insiders alike, that season remains one of the most memorable and controversial chapters in the history of the sport, illustrating just how much the mental game matters at the highest level of competition. Hey MotoGP fans, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with all the latest action.